Ladies and gentlemen, we got the Deputy High Commissioner in India. Please give him a warm welcome here.
United Kingdom's Deputy High Commissioner to India, David Lelliot, and esteemed guests. We have pleasure in hosting a reception dinner for Mr. Elliot. He contacted me sometime last year before he was appointed to India and told me that he will be stationed in Chandigarh, which means very proximal to Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and a few other states. That excited me quite a bit because it means we no longer have to depend on our High Commissioner in Delhi to be representing us, since most of us have issues or concerns or interests in Punjab, and we have our man there. We're going to start. Mr. Elliot has asked me to organize two events. One is about commercial ties between the two countries, which is the event today. So one of the things in his brief, which he will say himself, is to increase commercial ties between those regions, particularly Punjab and Britain. There will be another event in Sri Guru Singh Sabha Hounslow next Wednesday between 10 and 12, which will be on other issues such as politics and human rights and social issues, which many people would like to take up with Mr. Elliot and obviously ask him to raise with the government of Punjab. So we are separating the two events. I would like to hand the mic over to our main host, Mr. Gurmil Singh Mali, who needs no introduction, and he will say something for a few minutes.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ Mr. David Lelliot, United Kingdom Deputy High Commissioner to India and esteemed guests, it is my pleasure to include you to his reception dinner and listen to his Deputy High Commissioner as last 6 months in India and Punjab. I have privileged meeting with him at Chandigarh few months back, and I can say he's very much interested to bring businessmen from Punjab, and also is very keen to take businessmen from London, from UK to Punjab, to work together to develop both countries. And the issues in Punjab, because last 30 years we have so many issues, so many disruption, which is never ever happened to resolve that. So that also is one issue, but today is on business side. How we can develop, how we can make a relation. I think it's Elliot, he can guide us, he can help us both way, in and out. I can say Southall is mini Punjab, so we like to say Elliot is welcome to Southall and welcome all of you. Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
The mic is going to and fro. Can I ask Mayor Sachin Gupta to say a few words before we invite Mr. Lelliot?
Honorable Deputy High Commissioner David Lelliot, so not Elliot, David Lelliot, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm not going to say more, only going to welcome on behalf of London Borough of Hounslow, London Borough of Ealing, where we are actually today. A very warm welcome. I know you are a very recognizable person in our community because you've made a small period of time within a year, you've made in Indian diaspora, especially in Punjabi diaspora, a special place in all our hearts. I had the chance to meet you first time last month when I went to Mellon. So very warm welcome once again, and I think we all want to hear from you today rather than our politician speeches because we always have the time to speak. So thank you so much and welcome once again. Thank you.
I would like at this stage to invite one other speaker before we hear the Deputy High Commissioner. It's Jatinder Singh. He represents the Sikh entrepreneurs, the young and youthful and very dynamic group of businessmen in this country, entrepreneurs who are up and coming, and I'm sure they will probably have a lot of interest in the big investments, both from there to here. So.
Testing. Firstly, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming and attending this event. David, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to ask you questions today. And Mr. Mali, thank you for organizing the event as well. My name is Jatinder Singh, and I'm the Director of Digital Strategy with SikhEntrepreneur.com. Our chairman, Sikhi Wahiwala, couldn't come down today because he got a business meeting, so he sent me down. And I'm not much of a speaker, so I'm a bit nervous, to be honest, so just bear with me. Sikh Entrepreneur is a fairly new organization which we set up because we saw a bit of a gap in the community in the sense of there's no forum for the youth as well as just generally the community for role models when it comes to the business context. So about a year ago we thought let's set something up, so we put a website together online and we started profiling a lot of entrepreneurs, finding Sikhs in business and putting them online just to see what would happen in one sense. And now that website is starting to pick up a lot of momentum and we're getting good response from the community, and we got a bit of a responsive network as well. The main purpose of Sikh Entrepreneur is basically to build the biggest network of Sikh entrepreneurs, action takers, leaders in business and human potential, so that we can basically share that information, put it out there, grow and even contribute even more as a community. I know that sounds like an ambitious task, but somebody once said to me, if people don't laugh at your goals, they're not worth having. So we thought, let's live big, let's see what we can do with this. And some of the things that we're trying to do this year is basically go into digital content, create videos and interviews with entrepreneurs like yourselves, so we can get your message out there, so people can find out more about what's going on in the Sikh community. We're also going to be looking to do events, workshops and seminars, and we're also going to be looking to showcase Sikh business and Sikh women in business as well. Now I'm kind of forgetting what else I wanted to say, but if any of that resonates, then do connect with us and let's see what we can make happen. But I'm going to be quiet for now and just let David take the floor. So thank you very much for bearing with me.
Can I now invite the Deputy High Commissioner, David Lelliot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's better. Thank you also to our esteemed host this evening, Mr. Mali. Thank you to Jazdev for putting this together. And thank you to all of you for turning out tonight. Jestev's right, I do feel very at home here. I'm not sure about Little Punjab, but it certainly feels very like Punjab. And in the short, 1 year, less than 1 year that I've been living in Chandigarh, I have felt very at home there, and my family also feels very much that's our home. But I also feel at home here tonight for another reason, which is that my mother's family is from Acton, near here, and I spent part of the first few years of my life living in Acton, so it's a homecoming in another way as well. As Jasdev implied, the Deputy High Commission in Chandigarh is a new one. It's part of a process we have called Network Shift, which is about putting more resources into countries like India and giving them more attention. And it's about building a stronger, deeper, wider relationship with India. So we established last year a new Deputy High Commission in Chandigarh, covering 5 states across northwest India, with the aim of strengthening our political ties with those 5 states, of developing our trade and investment, and also of strengthening our broader cooperation on issues like education, skills training, science and innovation, research, and things like issues like tackling climate change. So why am I here tonight? Because we recognise that sitting in offices in India, talking to politicians, talking to business people, is an important part of the job. It's the large part of what I do. But if we only do that, we're missing an important part of the picture. And that important part of the picture is all of you sitting here before me tonight, because we realise that communities like this have such an important role to play. And if we miss those people-to-people connections, those community-to-community connections, then we're missing an essential part of what makes our relationship with India so vibrant, so dynamic. And this is obviously a very exciting time to be representing the UK in northwest India. And really we want now to, I think, in the past we may have missed a trick, we may not have engaged as closely with all of you as we should. And that's why we want now to work more closely with you and to see what we can do together to make sure we understand your concerns, your issues. I don't claim to have a magic wand. I don't claim that I'll be able to resolve everything. My office's remit is not to get involved in individual cases or personal disputes. I'll say that clearly from the beginning. Consular services continue to be delivered through Delhi. But what we can do is raise systemic issues. I am in regular contact with the government of Punjab, with the governments of the other states I deal with the other authorities there. So I can talk about systemic issues. I do talk about those kind of issues, whether it's property disputes or, the way people feel, the way they're treated when they come to India, when they come to northwest India. So to do that effectively, I need to understand your experiences, your preoccupations, and in particular in the theme tonight, what more we can do to work with you to boost our trade, to boost British exports to India, or to help bring Indian investment into the UK, into all of your communities. I'm a big believer actually in questions and answers, so I think I'm going to stop my introductory remarks there and just say the floor will be open later on for questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lelliot. And I think the last time I visited Mr. Lelliot in Chandigarh, I thought he'd become more of a Punjabi than me there. He seems to like the Punjab, and I hope the Punjab will make an impact on you, clearly. What we're hoping to do is we'll have some starters, and once you've filled your belly a little bit, then we can have questions and answers. And please try and limit the question and answers to the topic at hand this evening. This is a tremendous opportunity where we all have, some of us who have tried to engage in business in the Punjab, or have tried to engage businessmen in India who invest here. There have been hurdles, there are hurdles. And it's difficult individually to address those or deal with those effectively. But now our government has given us a representative who can try and take these issues up with the governments there. And whereas, as the Deputy High Commissioner said, not individual cases, but the broad generic issues which are creating problems could be resolved. We are aware there's a NRI forum there, all that sort of thing, but I don't think the experience of people has been that encouraging in breaking down sometimes the barriers, the bureaucracy, and things like that. And perhaps a champion there for us is an ideal thing. At the same time, many of you may have some big projects in mind, and you can't always get the investment in this country. There is quite a lot of money in India, there's quite a lot of money in Punjab, and there's no reason why businessmen in Punjab, or business people in Punjab, I shouldn't say just businessmen, business people in Punjab cannot find a conduit to invest here in your projects. And since we are Punjabis, they are Punjabis, I think it makes it a little easier. But we need to have those processes and the confidence. And I'm sure the Deputy High Commissioner will explain to them how businesses work here and also take our issues there. Should we take one or two questions? Or? Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll start taking a couple of questions, and then as soon as the starter comes, we'll tuck in. Yeah. Okay.
One of the things I forgot to mention is that we're looking to set up a UK and Punjab forum as well, which we can start to collate information here, which we can then relay over to yourself, if possible. What are the kind of things that we should be doing, and what advice can you give us so we can set that up to kind of get the ball rolling, in addition to whatever the outcomes are here today?
Sorry, you said the UK in Punjab forum.
UK and Punjab forum. So
Right,
just
right.
where
Yes.
within the UK and Punjab.
I mean, in a way, I would suggest that the very kind of issues that I'm hoping we're going to be discussing this evening would be sort of, bread and butter for your forum. What is it that holds back entrepreneurs in both our countries? What is it that people are looking for? What is it they need? What are the obstacles? What works well? What are the examples of successes? And I think actually this is one area where the diaspora can really help. Not just within the diaspora community, but more widely. When people are looking at sort of, venturing into India, business people here in the UK, it can sometimes seem quite a daunting prospect, quite a daunting market. And examples of success can sometimes mean the difference between people making that step and going in there and trying to do business and staying at home. So I think some case studies that show things that have worked in either direction
would be a wonderful sort of a great way to start.
Thank you.
I think, good evening. I totally welcome this evening. It's a wonderful opportunity. All the Indians, I would say, not only Punjabis, have been looking forward to having this opportunity made available. And if we start on the right forum, now we'll be talking about new startups here. To get a new startup started in any country, you need to have a background, you need to have a projected cash flows, you've got to have all different projections and into banking, clearances and all those other things. And startups are always a problem. How would your setup in Chandigarh would be able to facilitate us in intercompany transfers, in training, in actually getting the movement going? Thank you.
Within the Deputy High Commission, we have absorbed the small trade and investment office that was already there in Chandigarh. Has now become part of our Deputy High Commission. So we have a UKTI person who's on the ground in Chandigarh who can provide local advice, pointers, and so on. British exporters can also access the whole of the UKTI network within India. They have large presences in Delhi and elsewhere. They have experts on the different sectors and so on. We, on the whole, won't recommend to you a specific partner, a specific bank, or whatever, but we will provide some introductions, some contacts, so that you can, do the research, take the decision for what works for you, the people you feel comfortable with, and so on. You can access a whole range of UKTI services, including commissioning market reports, or asking us to do launch events and so on for you. And so that this doesn't sound like an advert for UKTI, I'll give you an alternative route as well. In September last year, the UK India Business Council, which many of you may be familiar with, but it's a private sector organisation run by businesses for businesses, opened their first British business centre in India, in Gurgaon, and that provides another entry point for British companies looking to work in India. It provides another sort of source of support. They can offer market advice, and they can also even provide you with a workspace, not in Chandigarh, but in Delhi so far. Well, I was talking to them only yesterday about what they might do in Chandigarh in the future. But they can provide a range of services, and that will be from a more private sector perspective. People who've got a background in business and are working with businesses with that in mind. So I would offer those two entry points.
Thank you very much. I think one of the points which we've tried before, working with a corporate there, and coming back here, which we found was a great difficulty in intercompany transfers and getting people trained for a short period and getting them back on the ground again. How would that be facilitated?
I'm not going to be able to answer that question directly, but I would suggest you direct it to UKTI. If you Google UKTI, they should be able to provide that kind of advice. Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy High Commissioner. It's Councillor Amrit Mann from London Borough Hounslow. My question is in the practical steps as to what has changed from the time when the DTI, it had specific desks related to states. I understand from my information that a desk specific to Punjab was absent within the DTI a number of years back, and this is not for investment for the Punjabi diaspora, but more for mainstream British investment for large companies seeking to invest into Punjab. The information was absolutely missing for them to have that information so they can make that judgment. What has changed now for us to think that there is going to be inward investment into Punjab from UK businesses, whether it's through the Punjabi diaspora or otherwise? And how is the British government encouraging it? Because my understanding was there was a degree of stifling to reduce the level of inward investment into Punjab as a state by the Indian government. Thank you.
Okay, just to be very clear, the British government role, my role, is not to promote investment into Punjab or any other Indian state. My role specifically is to promote investment into the UK and to promote British exports to Punjab. That said, we recognise that sometimes the best way for British companies to do business in India is to invest within India and is to set up there. But that's not something we're specifically promoting, but it's something we will help companies with when they wish to do it. And there are some very good examples around that area of companies that have done so. In answer to your question about country knowledge, the state knowledge, a number of years back, the British government tried to open a full trade office in Chandigarh so that we could have greater information on what was going on in Punjab and Haryana, and could provide a better level of service to companies. We were unable at that time to identify a property that met our security requirements, and therefore we had to scale back our ambitions. But we did open a small, one-person trade office. So for about 8 years now we've had a presence, a UKTI presence on the ground in Chandigarh, a dedicated resource focusing on that region. Now with the opening of the High Commission, the Deputy High Commission, which remains a work in progress. I've been on the ground there since May. I have half a team in place. I have an office site identified. We're waiting for clearance from the Indian government to develop that. And we're currently recruiting the other half of the team. So we hope during the course of the next few months to be able to press ahead with developing the office and opening the office definitively. But we will have about 10 or a dozen people up on the ground in Chandigarh, looking at the business climate, looking at the various sectors, the various issues we've been talking about. So we already have a wealth of information, and over the coming months and years, we'll be developing further that information. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deputy High Commissioner, for your valuable time. The question I'm going to ask you is a kind of generic form, but it may not be directly linked with you, but with your influence and talk with the Indian government, perhaps you'll be able to throw some light. You did mention that you were trying to promote the business from Punjab to India, but then the process starts from applying the visa when they go back to India. I think I can simply say a majority of the Indian community, they have been offered two types of visa by the Indian government. One is OCI, Overseas Citizen of India. The second is PIO, Person of Indian Origin. OCI is definite, it cannot be cancelled. PIO is for 15 years. The requirements for both the visas are more or less same. I'm not going to use the word conspiracy by the Indian government, but the feedback we get that 99.9% the Indian High Commission is trying to encourage the people to take OCI. They are, although the format is same, the paperwork is same, but then when the minute you apply the PIO, lots of further inquiry comes, and the idea is they give you so much harassment that you end up taking the OCI. Now, the OCI and PIO, when you ring them, I spent so much time on the website, it doesn't give you much difference between PIO and OCI. But on the OCI, you get Indian passport, which is a definite with no expiry date. My simple question to you, could you talk to the Indian government or the Indian High Commission to get some clarification for the Indian community in the UK? Because I would be very much concerned applying for the OCI, which once I have taken, I cannot cancel. And the Indian High Commission is encouraging so much to take OCI rather than PIO. It could be some conspiracy theory to control the NRIs later on or bring them under the taxation rules, I don't know. But this is something which is a kind of puzzle for the Indian community for some time. I would like to invite your views on that, please.
I'm certainly not going to try to give anyone advice on their particular route, which is a matter for each individual to take. What I will undertake to do is I'm meeting one of the senior Indian diplomats here in the UK during the course of my stay over the next week. And I will raise that question with him. And that need that you feel for greater information so that you can take an informed choice. And frankly, I can even ask them outright whether they have whether they do have a preference, whether they are trying to push one category over another. And I can also ask colleagues in the Foreign Office in London who are in regular contact with the High Commission to also to pursue that question. I've actually, during the course of my meetings today, got 2 or 3 other issues that that people have expressed an interest in, that we need, or a concern about, that we need to raise with the High Commission, so I've certainly put that on my list.
Another small question. What would be the views of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office if I apply for Category A or Category B, in case if I'm or anyone is traveling in India, in case of any help from the British government, being a British passport holder, what would be the attitude of the British High Commission, whether you hold a Category A visa or Category B visa? This is what the Indian High Commission have not been able to clarify to us.
If you enter India on a British passport, you are protected. As a British national, you are entitled to the same level of consular protection, consular assistance as any other person entering on a British passport, regardless of what other documents you might hold.
Associate is not a dual nationality. So only the visa you get for life.
So,
that is not a passport. That is only a document, a travel document. You have no rights with that.
The crucial point is the passport you use to enter. And you're entering on a British passport. You are a British citizen, you are entitled to the same consular protection and assistance as any other British national.
Quite reassuring. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for giving me the time to ask the question.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Thank you. A very warm welcome to you at the heart of the Sikh community, and we congratulate you for opening the Deputy High Commission in Chandigarh. There are a couple of things that we would like to know from you. One is, when UK is trying to trade with India, does India's record of human rights or India's stance on death penalty affect any of your decisions? Does it bother you that probably the safety issue for women is not as much as it should be here, as it is here in the UK? So when you do such trade agreements, with your moral high ground, I would say moral high grounds, do you think you take it with yourselves when you trade with countries like India? And how strong are you to implement or force a Pakistan that human rights records need to be set straight as well? And also, because you are inviting people from Punjab, one, the current UK government's association, I would say, or the role that you guys played in 1984, attack on Sridhar Barside, how would that, you think, would impact? Also, with the changing visa conditions and regimes, don't you think it's contrary to what you're trying to establish, with visas getting even more difficult by the day, and what you're trying to establish, the kind of relationship you're looking at? Thank you.
No. Okay, no, I didn't think I could away with the one word answer. I apologise, I didn't take notes, but I think I've got the key points here. You asked about human rights and the death penalty. You know, our position on the death penalty is absolutely clear. We oppose the death penalty, full stop. And the death penalty and wider human rights issues form a regular part of our dialogue with India. They're regularly raised in ministerial exchanges and other exchanges. And I raise human rights issues with the authorities in meetings I have. So they're there, you know, they form an important part. They're not neglected or swept under the carpet in any way. But I'm not sure what a human rights question would have to do with a commercial agreement on rice processing equipment or a plant to produce strepsils or so on. So
but is it not in a way strengthening a country which doesn't have a good human rights records, or trading with someone who has not so good human rights? Or you think because we want exports, or we want to do exports, because we want money, we are down to recession, we are happy to compromise with A, B, C?
I'm not sure I would recognise fully that characterisation of India. I don't think it's about money or exports at any cost. And I think also we find generally that engagement is a far better way of influencing than disengagement. There are always exceptions to that, but generally being involved gives you the chance to influence events, to influence development, to discuss, to try to improve conditions. You asked also specifically about the rights of women, and I'm really pleased you did, because it's actually, well, firstly, let me say, you're the first lady who's asked me a question today, and it's quite late. It's almost 9 o'clock, and I've done London east to west today, and so thank goodness, we have got female participation here. And I actually, looking around the hall at the beginning of the evening, wanted to say, I'm very glad to see so many women here. And I didn't say it because actually there's not a huge number, but there's more than I normally see in public meetings. And I think that is a very key issue. I've met, in my dealings in India, I've come across some very talented women, some very capable women who are in good positions, but I do see women in India as very underrepresented in public life, and I think it's something we need to work on. I'm quite pleased that the UK does have a history, even in my short time there, of bringing out some good, strong female role models for people. And I always bear in mind very strongly that it's important that these female role models are seen not just by women, they need to be seen by women because they need to inspire, but but they also need to be seen by the men, because the men need to know, they need to move over, they need to make space, so that women can engage more fully in public life. And I think it's also important for me, as a man, to be seen to be raising these issues. So whenever I travel around the states I cover, whenever I'm engaging with the police, I ask what they're doing about violence against women, crimes against women, because it's important. These are human rights issues, they're not just women's issues. You asked about visas. Visas are a balancing act. We have legitimate concerns and reasons to exclude some people, but we also recognise that visas are an essential part of what we're trying to achieve in terms of improving the prosperity of the UK, contributing to UK jobs and growth, and I think in that process also contributing to India's jobs and growth. So we try to walk a fine line. We try to get the balance right, but this isn't something that's set in stone, it's a dynamic process. And those of us within the India network, and I should point out here that the British diplomatic network in India is both our biggest diplomatic network in the world, and it's also the biggest foreign diplomatic network within India of any country. So it's, we're investing hugely in that relationship. But myself and others from around the diplomatic network pay close attention to the visa issue. We deal with a lot of people, we talk to a lot of stakeholders, and we feed views into the system, and we're always looking at what we can do differently, what we can do better, how we can use that process better to support the legitimate interests of many Indian travellers and our own agenda as the UK. So you're right to highlight that as an issue. It is an issue. It will always be there on our list of things to do and to look at how we can do better. And you asked also about 1984. In a way, look, we know a lot of people suffered. It was a great tragedy, what happened in 1984. And the wounds of that are still felt strongly. I'm not Punjabi, but I live in that community, and you can't live in that community, be a part of that community, and not be aware of that. The UK part in it, that you refer to, I can't add very much to what the Foreign Secretary said 2 days ago. We sent a single advisor whose advice was largely not, whose advice was not acted on. That's the bottom line on that. But we do, I think we've almost come full circle. Human rights do form part of our dialogue, and we are looking to the future. So I'll finish there if I may.
Yes, the only thing is, because as you said 1984, what William Hague said is end of. But I think a lot of Sikhs have other feelings, because it doesn't absolve the UK government of the fact, even instead of trying to tell India to do otherwise, to trying to guide them for, or even to react to what they said. I think UK being UK, I think that itself is a very responsible position to take, and most of the Sikhs would not be very happy with the answers that we got. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Those of you who have probably came late, let me just remind you that there are two functions. Tonight is concentrating on commercial ties and related interests. There is another event on Wednesday the 12th, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock at Sri Guru Singh Sabha, Hounslow, where Mr. Lelliot will take all political, human rights and other issues on. So, but I don't know if you want to comment exactly. Are there any other questions?
Yes, please. Yeah.
this quick. You're trying to increase trade, and that's quite commendable. Sorry, you're trying to increase trade, that's quite commendable. What is the UK and India doing that could be improved in relation to other countries, say for example, China, Japan, the US? What trade, or what, if you say visa, that's already answered. What are the legalities of stopping an increase in trade, do you feel? And are the Punjabis or the rest of Indians putting a block without knowing? Sorry.
I think if I've understood your question correctly, I'd answer it by saying, yeah, there are challenges about doing business in India. You know, a few of us here in this room attended the NRI Sammalan in Anandpur Sahib last month, and speakers there raised various concerns, including about the functioning of the legal system, about property rights, property disputes, and so on. So there are obstacles, and I think that's part of my job, is not to solve those problems as such, because I don't have the means to do that, but I can make sure that the authorities are aware that those issues, A, they are real issues, and B, they actually are impediments to their own ambitions to increase trade, investment and prosperity. So, I think that's how we can help tackle them, by keeping them on the agenda, by empowering those who are working to resolve them, and by trying to keep the spotlight on them. Does that address the point? Thank you.
Hi, Deputy High Commissioner. The question is, you said you've been there 6 months in Chandigarh. What sort of dialogue have you had with the Punjab government? What we feel as Asians, I'm not going to say Punjabis because I think there's a mixture of people who do want to invest in Punjab. But we do feel that government there do not want any investment, be it UK, USA, Canada. We don't find them friendly. Like if you go to Gujarat, there's a delegation waiting for you. There's a lot of people who want to invest in Punjab, but we never had any sort of feedback from the Punjabi government to say, yeah, you're welcome here, or there's a trade zone. What sort of feedback have you had in the last 6 months from them?
Good question.
Very good.
I think my sense is the government of Punjab has sort of woken up to the reality. They've woken up to the fact that they need greater investment. They've sort of kick-started that process. They had their big high-profile investor summit back in December. They attracted a very high-profile and impressive cast list. They got memoranda of understanding of a huge quantity of investment. As the Chief Minister himself pointed out, an MOU is not the same as actual delivery, and there now needs to be follow-through on that. But I think they're also at the beginning of a process. They're feeling their way. Again, to talk about the NRI Sammalan, my feeling is they started off setting the agenda very well on investment. They at the beginning of the meeting, they did a great video, the Deputy Chief Minister made a great presentation, but then the structure of the rest of the event didn't really capitalise on that, and it didn't allow people, I think, to contribute fully to the discussion. It didn't allow people to explore possible solutions and ways forward on some of the issues that we've already been talking about. So that's something I've been discussing with them since then, is how they make better use of that event and that you know, the energy and enthusiasm that they had in the room over those 2 days. And I think they are looking at how they structure that better, so that they can harness sort of ideas from people like yourselves, and look to try to make this a more dynamic process, and to come out with something that really meets your needs. I don't know, Sachin, you were there too. Do you want to say something? I don't want to hog the microphone too much, but I don't want to put you on the spot either.
I've actually attended 2 Summelians now, and one of the things I've always been critical of the Punjab government, that they bring all the politicians on the table. We had 40 politicians this time as well from all over the world. And I spoke to a couple of IAS and I said to him, I said, why do you actually bring politicians on the board if you want investment? So we need investors, not politicians. So, in other words, I think they've got the gist of what they want. I think this time, even in Chief Minister's speech, he said, if you want to bring anything, any project, come and talk to me, come and talk to anybody up there as well. And I don't know how many people actually talk to the government there. We know the people here. I know a few people who's got industries. Raith and Bahra College is example. They've got 3 colleges, they've got a university there now as well, and also they're making a super hospital, which I just saw this time while going to Anandpur Sahib. I think it's a two-way dialogue. That they want the investment, but how many of us want to do investment as well? It works both ways.
And the other one, they have had a businessman there.
Yeah, that's what David already said.
And they're going to have another one. That's what business people there.
You know, you're talking about approaching these people. You're talking about approaching Sukhbir Badal. How approachable is he? You tell me. Or anybody there, please, right? You know, Deputy High Commissioner, you said there was a meeting. Actually, it was in Mohali. You know, there was this big trade. How many UK companies, USA companies, or Canada companies were invited there? It was the Ambanis. It was most of the big boys from India. I didn't see anybody from the UK being invited there, or even to these NRI meetings you're talking about. They only invite the politicians. They don't invite any businessmen. I was there last time. I said, can you invite some business people here? They don't want to know. So the question to you is, you've been there 6 months, you're going to be, I don't know, you know, next 6 months, next year, whatever. We actually want someone we can approach. Mr. Malli, you know, he's been going there for years, he's a great businessman. Even I feel sometimes he can't approach Mr. Sukhbir Badal or anybody there. We wanted to open a plant in Chandigarh. You know, we inquired about it after we just gave up. We thought there's no security there, we're not safe there. As soon as we put a plant here, we don't know who's going to come and, you know, demand something from us. So these are the issues, these are big issues in Punjab before we even talk about investment there. We need someone we can approach and feel safe.
I think I said earlier, my job is not to promote Punjab, but the points you raise are actually very helpful because they do give me, you know, content for my dialogue. Because, you know, it's one thing for me to say, my perception is you need to do this, that, or the other to attract investors. It's another thing for me to be able to say, investors have told me, or potential investors have told me, that this is what they see as obstacles. There are figures within the Punjab government who are more approachable, but I can take all those points away and say, look, this is the perception that's out there. I can take that away and feed that in.
We should be more like Gujarat, where Mr. Modi actually sends someone. He knows there's a delegation from the UK. He sends his own delegation to the hotel. He meets these people. He answers you what you're here for and what not. In 40 years of being in business, I have never had one delegation from the Kali government We had one delegation from the Congress government that was there. That came to Hounslow. Apart from that, nobody has ever approached the UK for any sort of investment in Punjab. So, I think first of all, if we, you being representing here, I think you're representing us in Chandigarh. I think the thing is, how can you help us guys, for you people to be more approachable? That's the first thing. Forget about you investing
Yeah, like I say, I will take that back. Can I add as well, you asked about foreign companies. To my knowledge, there was one American company up on the stage in Mohali, so I'm not ducking your question. Would also note that they are having, in about 10 days' time, an agriculture-focused investment event in Mohali. We have been working to try to get some UK companies there for that. And there are, I believe, a number of foreign companies participating there. And I would just also add, in terms of them trying to attract foreign investment, that I think that's partly why Minister Mittal has been made Minister of Industry. And we have had discussion with him about investment in the healthcare sector and in the new Medicity. So there are openings, and there's more to do, and we're going to get on with doing it.
Question there, please.
Thank you, Deputy High Commissioner. I'm Sharina from Stirling Dental College. We're in the process of establishing links with Punjab in dental education. With recent exposure of bogus educational courses in the UK, how will this impact genuine students wanting to enrol on our courses? And how can we expect any help from the High Commission in Chandigarh to make visa applications easier for prospective students?
I spend quite a lot of my time and effort communicating about students studying in the UK, the truths, the realities, the myths. So we are working hard actually to try to make sure that some of the misperceptions about the visa system, about the UK attitude towards students from India get dispelled and that we get the real information out there. In terms of working with the visa people, we do. My office isn't directly involved in the issuing of visas, but we do feed in on the process of making sure it's friendly, on trying to get the right information out there, and so on. On the whole, we do have a good rate. People are surprised when we start talking about how many visas do get issued, the percentage that do get issued. It is the overwhelming majority. We also are very clear in our public messaging that there is no cap on the number of Indian students coming to the UK, and that we actually want to see more of India's brightest and best coming here and studying here. And I actually think that's another area where all of you can have a role to play, because I know you're all plugged into your communities back in India. So we are doing what we can. We are trying to make sure that the visa experience is a good one, that the true messages get out there, and also that people appreciate the full value of the UK offer on education, that you get a high quality of education, that it's often a stepping stone towards a better career, better earning potential, but also that it offers a very vibrant and enjoyable student experience when you're here. So we're working hard on all of those issues.
Commissioner, a number of people from the UK have invested heavily into real estate in Southall, Chandigarh, Mohali, and a number of projects have literally stranded. Is there any way that the embassy can influence these sort of projects to try and see if there's any scope of getting any of these projects finished or not?
We don't get involved in individual cases. That would be for people to pursue through their own business. But again, if there is perhaps we can have a quick chat afterwards, you can give me some more of the background on it, but if there are particular issues that things are being put on hold or whatever, we can try to explore the reasons why and see if there is something that can be done to move things forward. But on the whole, individual cases are for individuals to pursue through their business contacts or their legal options.
Hi, David, welcome to Little India and welcome to the Garden City, which is Chandigarh. Mr. Southall has touched on the subject of property in India. I think it would be good if you could address the problems that we all have in Punjab regarding properties. My parents, going back about 40 years, had similar problems in Punjab over property disputes, and I'm having the same. I'm currently going through 3 litigation cases due to property disputes, so I think that's an area that you need to address as well. The so-called NRI Sabha that has been formed, which I think they have an office in Jalandhar and maybe Chandigarh, people are not having much success with that, so maybe you need to have a discussion about that point. As far as the trade between the two countries is concerned, it's a great move that you're making, and really I wish you the best of luck. It isn't going to be very easy, but let's see. And if you want something similar to this in India, I'm sure a lot of these people have connections in India, and you could repeat this function in Chandigarh, and I think they'll be able to assist you there. Thank you very much. And thank you for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for that offer. We do have, we've had a couple of large investor and trade events in Chandigarh as part of our GREAT campaign that were very well received, and we're sort of working on the follow-up to them to try to turn, to use the Chief Minister's idea, memoranda of understanding into commitments. And on the property point, yeah, it's a perennial. I referenced it in terms of an issue that came up time and again at the NRI Sammalan, and it does undermine confidence. And I think that's actually the most powerful argument. We might feel that the argument of doing it is a sense of justice, but actually I think in terms of persuading, the authorities to do something about it, I think the fact that it is an obstacle to investment, off-putting for investors, is actually a key. But I will continue to discuss that.
I welcome you, sir, here, and I'm thankful to my brother Maliji for having invited me and given me an opportunity to ask you a question. My friend over there, he spoke very high of Gujarat government, where things are done very quickly. And you don't have to go there, they come to you. But I can't criticize Punjab because there is a government where I am involved too. So, both the governments, they are having their own problems, they are having their own situations. But what my question is, that up till now, we have been talking about the corporate, the very big investors. They have their own resources, they can do a lot themselves. But my question is about the small scale industrialists, the medium scale people who have employed about 200, 300 people or 50 to 100 people. They don't have that much resources, financially or otherwise, to expose or to give exposure to their produce, their products. Thereby, cannot invite people to see their products, their quality and all that. And That is the impediment, the big impediment for them to create more business. My question to you is, sir, how would you help if somebody takes upon himself a project by which he can bring 50, 60, 70 such people over here, have an exhibition, Expo 2015 here, which will give their produce to be shown, give an exposure to people of that who have the interest in those products to be seen. And I can assure you, with your help and the help of the bureaucrats here, it can create wonders. There will be lot of extra money, cash in the pockets of those people who are working in those industries, thereby increasing the quality of life. How would you help those people in organizing such event here and vice versa? Thank you.
In terms of helping Indian companies who had products that they wished to market here, we wouldn't help them. That's not what we're there for. We are there to promote British exports to India. The Indian government, CII, FICCI, there are numerous vehicles for them to help in the other direction. So that's something we would leave to them. In terms of smaller or medium-sized British companies who wanted to do that kind of thing in India, we would be delighted. We wouldn't have to have 50 or 70. If we get 10 or a dozen companies who want to come out, we would be delighted to try to arrange something for them in Chandigarh, elsewhere in Punjab, elsewhere in one of the other states. You know, I cover 5 states, but there's a whole network that covers the rest of the other 23. So we'd be delighted to do that, and we can help in a number of ways. We can help with market information for them. We can provide them with we can identify potential agents or partners for them. Ultimately, it's for those companies to decide who they want to work with, but we can provide a list, we can provide some background to help them get started on that. We can provide market information reports so that people understand what's already going on in the sector they're interested in, what competition is there, what duty rates might apply, what the barriers are. So there's a whole raft of support that's available. They can be accessed through our network, it can be accessed through the UKTI website, through the UKTI representation here in offices here in the UK, through Chambers of Commerce, and also through the UK India Business Council. So there is, there are plenty of entry points there for companies. There's a lot we can do, and as I say, we can also organise events, whether that's a networking reception, whether it's a launch event, whether it's an exhibition. We can help people also to find a trade show that might be the suitable vehicle for them. So quite a lot, I think, is the answer.
I think, thank you very much. This is exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mr. Lelliot, first of all, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to ask you questions which are relevant to interests that we may have taking our students across to India. I have a question to ask you. What help will the High Commission offer our prospective students where the courses will be longer than a 4-year period? Will there be any difficulty in getting extended visa for these students, particularly where, I don't know if you're aware, some of the undergraduate level courses run a course of 5 years? Thank you.
My apologies, I'm not a visa expert, and I'm not going to be able to answer that. It's a more technical question. But if you see me afterwards, I'll find a man who will, or a woman who will, but I'll find someone who will be able to answer that question.
glad that I'm going to wrap up. It's a woman who's wrapping up the question. The only thing, we haven't lost the plot. We're just so concerned about Punjab and what we do with it. One thing is that with the political scenario changing in India, would in any way British trade scene will change, say vis-a-vis Modi or maybe a third front coming, or Congress which doesn't likely to get any closer to that. So if you have to trade with Mr. Modi or say someone else, does that affect your trade policies towards India? Thank you.
I don't think it affects our trade policies. Our trade policies are our goals, which will remain as they are. It's about trying to remove barriers or obstacles for British companies wanting to do business in India. It's about trying to help British companies into the market and so on. And that will stay the same whoever is in government in India. What might change is that different governments, different parties will have different priorities. There'll be maybe different areas where we make progress, different areas where it's difficult. So over time, you know, the rate of progress we make and where we focus our effort might change, but the overall, if you like, the objectives, I think, remain broadly the same. That wasn't your question.
Hello, good evening to everybody. Thanks from me, for all our guests, friend to Mr. Malli, who did all the function today to introduce to everybody what's going in Punjab. I'm very proud, very happy. I have the earlier meeting with David. I explained to him everything, what problem we are facing, but what we need in there. And at least we got something in Chandigarh in homeland, which we can make a plan, or any problem that you have it, we would share it. First of all, I asked earlier, we willing to open the business in India, which is a growth. Everybody said growth in India is great growth in India, which we love to do it, but unfortunately, bureaucracy is not right. Once bureaucracy is right, we will spend the money, and we are British people would like to bring the money back here. That is very difficult because people have at the moment is no confidence. Once we got the confidence, we will spend the money and we would like to do the business. Like I proposed earlier, I said if we spend the money, we was asking what they are going to provide to us, which we needed. If we want to open business, 20 million to 30 million, our demand is there to government, what you are willing to give us. Are you willing to give us tax free? Are you willing to tax free? Or you land as a control rate? If in case they are accepted, and we started. In case other government, change the government, they will ask us, this is the person, is belong to the different party, they will give us with more difficult. That's why we are not very interested unless bureaucracies are not changed. If once they change the bureaucracy, everybody want to do something there, which they are willing to do it, unless we have no confusion there. I don't think anybody will ask, and I will ask Mr. Davis, and could you explain if they can help us, if we have any problem, would they share with our problem or not? If please, give them. Thank you.
A lot depends on the nature of the problem. We aren't going to get involved in every contractual dispute. If people have a contractual dispute, their recourse is either to resolve it directly themselves or to seek legal redress. But there are occasions when we can intervene at the political level where problems become politicised. And as I've already said, we also engage regularly. It's not so much just that we can, we do engage in trying to secure the most favourable climate, the most favourable conditions and circumstances for British companies to operate in. And I would accept your point, India is not always an easy place to do business, but I guess there's a sort of one-word answer to it, which is Vodafone. We all know Vodafone haven't had the easiest time in India, and yet they've just turned around and announced that they're going to invest further. And I think that shows the scale of the opportunities they see. Not everyone is Vodafone. Not everyone is going to find India is the right market for them. But for the right companies, for those with the right products or services, it can be a very rewarding market. And it's for each person, each company to take those decisions. And we will do what we can to support them and help them.
Thank you.